For over 4 decades, Voyager 2 has drifted silently through the cold, infinite void of space. Launched in 1977, it was humanity's first attempt to send a message beyond our solar system. Its mission was simple: explore the outer planets, capture data, and then vanish into the blackness. No one expected to hear from it again, certainly not after it passed Neptune in 1989 and embarked on its journey beyond the reach of the sun's influence. But then something extraordinary happened. Voyager 2, in the desolate emptiness, sent a signal back to Earth. Not just any signal. This was a strange, erratic transmission that cut through the static of space like a whisper from another realm. Engineers at NASA initially dismissed it as noise, a simple glitch, an artifact of aging technology. But the signal continued, consistent and deliberate. It wasn't random. What was more terrifying was what they discovered when they began analyzing it. This was no malfunction. This was communication. Intentional. Structured. Voyager 2 had encountered something out there in the vast, uncharted abyss, and what it found is far darker than anyone could have imagined. Voyager 2 was designed to be a solitary probe, a relic of humanity's curiosity that would travel far beyond the solar system and eventually fade into silence. After its flybys of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, it completed its primary mission and began its lonely trek into interstellar space. Launched with a golden record containing greetings from Earth, Voyager 2 was meant to be a message to the cosmos, a symbol of human curiosity and an attempt to communicate with any potential intelligent life in the universe. However, once it passed the Heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends, the probe was considered to be far beyond the reach of Earth-based communications. It was assumed that as the years passed, Voyager 2 would simply drift, its instruments slowly failing, sending data only sporadically before falling silent forever. But scientists on Earth never imagined that the probe would become the source of such a strange and disturbing signal. After crossing into the void, it began transmitting data back to Earth. Signals that weren't just noise or faint transmissions from a dying machine. These were precise bursts, each one timed and structured, unlike anything the team had seen before. As engineers at NASA tried to decode the data, the anomaly became clear. Voyager 2 had encountered something out there in the deep void, something vast and ancient. The implications of this discovery were staggering. It was no longer just a probe in the dark. It had become a messenger, one that had unlocked the door to an unimaginable mystery. The first burst of data from Voyager 2 came as a routine spike. Nothing alarming, just a slight deviation in radiation levels. Engineers initially discarded it, assuming it was just a typical blip in the data. However, when a second spike occurred, followed by a third exactly 11 hours later, curiosity started to build. It was too precise, too consistent to be random. These bursts weren't coming from a natural cosmic event, like the radiation from a star or the energy from a distant galaxy. They were structured, rhythmic. As the scientists began to analyze the frequency and timing of the spikes, it became clear. The signal had pattern and purpose. Voyager 2's systems were old, and everyone knew the probe wasn't designed to communicate in such a sophisticated way. The data burst seemed to have something embedded within it, a series of tightly packed frequency loops. The scientists at NASA began to notice that these loops weren't just noise or interference. They were creating a binary pattern, something akin to an encoded message. Over time, the engineers discovered that the signal was far more than just an anomaly. It wasn't just an accidental interference from deep space. No, this was something deliberate. It was as if Voyager 2 had stumbled upon something, or someone, who had reached out to it, a being or entity capable of sending a message across the vast reaches of space. The signal was precise, too structured to be dismissed as random. It was a communication, and it was not meant for anyone else but Earth. This was the moment when the true nature of the signal began to emerge. Voyager 2 had encountered an intelligent phenomenon, one that was capable of reaching out and responding to the probe in a way no one had anticipated. With the realization that Voyager 2 had received a deliberate, structured signal, the team at NASA shifted into overdrive. For weeks, they painstakingly analyzed the data. The first breakthrough came when they realized that the signal wasn't just random. It was mathematical, a series of frequencies that seemed to follow a distinct pattern. As the team worked, they discovered something mind-boggling. The frequencies of the signal weren't just random noise. They seemed to align with the Fibonacci sequence, one of the most famous and universal patterns in nature. This sequence, which appears in everything from the growth of plants to the formation of galaxies, was now embedded in the very signal Voyager 2 had received. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just interference or random space radiation. This was a message, a carefully encoded communication from something intelligent. The signal was a spiral, not just a simple burst of energy, but an intentional pattern, like a cosmic fingerprint. The message seemed to be calling back to Earth, telling the scientists on the ground that Voyager 2 had encountered something ancient, something intelligent, and something that had been waiting. But the question was, what was it? And how had Voyager 2 become the vessel for this communication? The team had only just begun to understand the magnitude of what they had uncovered. Voyager 2 was no longer just a probe. It was now the messenger of a vast and possibly ancient intelligence, one that had seen the probe and responded. As the data was decoded further, the team began to uncover even more alarming details. The signal wasn't just a greeting or a random event. It was revealing something much darker, something that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. As the analysis continued, something even more bizarre happened. The probe itself seemed to respond to the signal. Instruments that had been powered down for years suddenly sprang to life, activating on their own, without any command from Earth. The most significant of these was the backup magnetometer, an instrument that had been dormant for decades. But when the team checked, they realized that it had powered up on its own, directed toward the source of the signal. What was even more unsettling was that the probe's systems weren't just randomly turning on. They were focusing on the exact coordinates that the signal had pointed to. It was as if Voyager 2 itself had been awakened, or more disturbingly, reprogrammed by an outside force. This phenomenon suggested that something far beyond human understanding was interacting with Voyager 2. The systems were not just functioning based on commands from Earth, they were reacting to something in space, something that seemed to be aware of the probe's journey. This opened up an entirely new set of possibilities. Had Voyager 2 encountered an alien intelligence capable of controlling or influencing machines from afar? Or had the probe somehow become more than just a passive observer in space? It was as if the machine had become sentient, or at least had been activated by something that was not human. This new discovery pushed the team to reconsider everything they knew about the probe's mission. Voyager 2 was no longer just exploring space. It had become a part of something much larger, a cosmic event that could reshape our understanding of intelligence, technology, and the universe itself. The data from Voyager 2 continued to reveal increasingly strange details. As the signal was analyzed further, scientists realized that the pattern of bursts wasn't just random. It followed a specific trajectory. Voyager 2's path was mapped against a celestial star chart, and the results were chilling. What they found was not just a path through space, but a path through time. The signal pointed to areas rich with dark matter, zones of extreme gravitational forces, and ancient gamma-ray bursts, some of the most powerful and violent events known in the universe. This was a cosmic trajectory that seemed to intersect with some of the universe's most dangerous and destructive forces. The pattern in the signal also revealed something even more unnerving. The bursts weren't just pointing to regions of space. They were pointing to events that had happened in the distant past, or perhaps were about to happen again. The signal was a map, a guide to something ancient and powerful. One of the most shocking revelations was that the trajectory Voyager 2 had followed seemed to intersect with areas of space known to contain dark matter concentrations. These regions are some of the most mysterious and dangerous places in the universe, and the fact that Voyager 2 had passed through them, and possibly encountered something within them, raised more questions than answers. If this trajectory was more than just a path, if it was pointing to something intentional, then Voyager 2 wasn't just exploring. It was tracing the footprints of something much older, something far more powerful, and perhaps far more dangerous. The implications were enormous. Had Voyager 2 been sent on a mission to uncover the remnants of an ancient intelligence? And had it found something far darker than anyone could have anticipated? As the scientists on Earth were still trying to decode the meaning of Voyager 2's findings, something even more unsettling began to happen. Radio observatories around the world started detecting signals at the exact frequency that Voyager 2 had transmitted. But these signals weren't just echoes or reflections from space, they were originating from Earth. At first, the scientists thought it was just interference. Perhaps the signals were bouncing off the Heliopause, the boundary between the solar system and interstellar space. However, when the signals became more frequent and aligned with the precise timing of Voyager 2's transmissions, it became clear that something far stranger was happening. These signals were originating from multiple locations deep beneath the Earth's surface: old Cold War listening stations, hidden military observatories, and abandoned research sites. These places had been dormant for decades, forgotten by most, yet now they were suddenly alive, sending out electromagnetic waves at the exact frequency that Voyager 2 had used. Machines, which had been powered off for years, were reactivating. Scientists began to realize that what Voyager 2 had encountered in space wasn't just an isolated phenomenon. Whatever had reached out to the probe had also awakened something on Earth. Some believed that Voyager 2's signal had triggered a kind of cosmic wake-up call, reactivating old systems that had long been buried in secrecy. The signals were not just random interference, they were precise, resonating at the same frequency as the pulses Voyager 2 had transmitted. It was as if these systems, long decommissioned, were responding to a signal they had been waiting for, a signal that, once it arrived, would activate them. What had Voyager 2 stumbled upon out there? Was it possible that this ancient intelligence wasn't just confined to space, but had a hidden presence on Earth? Scientists were also baffled by how these signals seemed to be connected. Each transmission appeared to be part of a network, one that had been lying dormant until now. Cold War-era radio towers, underground bunkers, even long-forgotten observatories once designed to detect extraterrestrial signals, all began emitting strange pulses in perfect synchronization. The question became inevitable. Was Earth being controlled by a force that had been silently influencing our history? And if so, who, or what, was responsible for this network of hidden systems? Was Voyager 2's encounter just the beginning, or had it been the key to unlocking a much darker truth? As this realization settled over the scientific community, it became clear that Voyager 2 had sparked something far more profound than a simple discovery of alien intelligence. It had connected Earth to an unseen force, one that had been buried deep beneath the surface of our planet, waiting for the right signal to reactivate. Now, the network was alive, and the true nature of its origin was still shrouded in mystery. As the mystery surrounding Voyager 2 deepened, NASA engineers began to analyze the telemetry logs more carefully. They discovered something even more unsettling. Alongside the transmissions from Voyager 2, there were phantom commands. Instructions that seemed to be coming from somewhere else, not from Earth, not from the probe's original programming. These commands appeared in the probe's logs at irregular intervals. They weren't part of the normal data stream, but when analyzed, they seemed to match the structure of old NASA protocols, legacy commands that had been long decommissioned. These were codes that had never been publicly released, yet they were now being transmitted to Voyager 2 from an unknown source. At first, the team considered the possibility of a malfunction or some kind of technical glitch, but as more of these commands appeared, their patterns became too deliberate to ignore. They resembled legacy NASA command protocols, but some of them were more advanced, more sophisticated than anything Voyager 2 had been originally programmed to handle. The mystery deepened when the team realized that these phantom commands seemed to guide Voyager 2's trajectory and data collection. The instructions weren't random. They were leading the probe to specific regions of space, regions it had never been programmed to explore. The question became, if these commands weren't from Earth, then where were they coming from? And more chillingly, what were they asking Voyager 2 to do? The most disturbing part of this revelation was the fact that these commands appeared to be directing Voyager 2 toward specific cosmic phenomena. Some of the signals seemed to focus on dark matter concentrations, others on areas known for gamma-ray bursts. It was almost as if someone, or something, was guiding the probe through space, encouraging it to study particular events that were far beyond the realm of normal exploration. At this point, the hypothesis began to form. Voyager 2 was no longer simply exploring the cosmos. It had become a tool for something far more powerful, an intelligence capable of influencing its systems, reprogramming its data, and manipulating its trajectory from a distance. The idea that Voyager 2 was being controlled from an external force, an unknown source, began to take root. Could it be that this force was not just alien, but something far older, something that had known about Voyager 2's mission long before its launch? Even more terrifying was the possibility that these phantom commands were not just signals being sent to the probe. They were instructions for the probe to deliver something. But what was Voyager 2 meant to carry? And who, or what, was directing it? The idea that Voyager 2 was being controlled by an intelligence beyond Earth's reach, an intelligence capable of understanding and manipulating human technology, sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The question shifted from what is Voyager 2 encountering to who or what is controlling it. As the investigation into Voyager 2's signal continued, something even more disturbing emerged. Scientists discovered that Voyager 2 had passed through a region of space where the normal rules of time and space seemed to break down. This phenomenon, known as frame dragging, occurs when a massive object warps space-time around it, causing signals to travel in ways that defy traditional physics. Normally, this would cause small, localized distortions in the fabric of space. However, when the scientists ran simulations based on Voyager 2's data, they discovered something truly shocking. The signals from the probe had arrived on Earth before they were even transmitted. In other words, Voyager 2 had received data from the future. At first, the engineers thought this might be a glitch in the system, but as more data came through, the phenomenon became undeniable. Voyager 2 had passed through a section of space where time itself appeared to bend. The implications of this were mind-boggling. If Voyager 2 had somehow tapped into future events, what kind of forces were at work in the cosmos? Was it possible that time, as we understand it, could be manipulated by external influences? This discovery sent ripples through the scientific community. It wasn't just the space Voyager 2 was traveling through that was important, it was the time it was traveling in. The probe had crossed a boundary where the normal rules of causality no longer applied. Signals from Voyager 2 seemed to travel backward in time, arriving before they were even sent. The implications for our understanding of physics were profound. If Voyager 2 had crossed into an area where time was warped, then the entire concept of linear time, past, present, and future, might not be as solid as we once thought. And if time itself could be manipulated, could this phenomenon explain the phantom commands that were being sent to Voyager 2? Was the probe receiving instructions from a future version of humanity, or perhaps a timeline where events had unfolded differently? As scientists continued to analyze the data, they began to realize that Voyager 2 wasn't just a probe sent to explore the universe. It was a part of something much larger. A cosmic system where time, space, and reality itself could be bent, twisted, and manipulated by forces beyond our comprehension. In the midst of the strange transmission and the unraveling mystery, one final revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Voyager 2 had captured an image of something unlike anything ever seen before. An object floating in deep space. At first, scientists thought it might be a rogue asteroid or comet, but closer analysis revealed something far more disturbing. The object wasn't tumbling through space, as most asteroids or comets do. It was perfectly still, almost unnervingly so. It didn't rotate or spin, and most chilling of all, it seemed to be adjusting its position based on the signals Voyager 2 was transmitting. The object was massive, easily the size of Earth's moon, and its surface was smooth, featureless, and completely black. It exhibited fractal symmetry, a pattern that suggested it was not natural but was rather engineered, perhaps by a mind far beyond our understanding. As the team at NASA studied the object, they began to understand something horrifying. It wasn't just drifting aimlessly through space. It was aware of Voyager 2's presence. It had been following the probe's journey through the cosmos, adjusting its trajectory as if it were responding to the probe's signals. The idea that an object of such size and complexity could be floating freely in space, waiting for a signal from a distant probe, was almost too much to comprehend. What was this object? What was its purpose? And most importantly, who or what had sent it? The implications were vast. The object wasn't just a piece of space debris. It was a constructed entity, a part of something much larger, and the fact that it was aware of Voyager 2's signals suggested that this was no accident. Voyager 2 had stumbled upon something far older, far more dangerous than we could have ever imagined. As the object's behavior became more apparent, scientists began to realize that this wasn't just a one-off event. It wasn't just a cosmic anomaly. Voyager 2 had unlocked something ancient, powerful, and perhaps deadly. And then, the message came through. Call to action. The question now remains. What is this object? What is its connection to the signal that Voyager 2 received? Is it just a message, or something far more dangerous? As scientists continue to analyze the data, the mystery deepens, and the universe seems to be revealing secrets that no one was ever meant to know. Join the investigation, follow the clues, and prepare for the next step in humanity's greatest cosmic mystery.